Welcome back to the channel, guys. You are watching the ban list discussion series that is ongoing. This is episode 3. I am joined by Ryan. You can find him on YouTube at Mandentertainment. I will put the link in the description below for anyone that wants to check out his channel. Primarily does a lot of comics, games, discussions, has guests on and stuff like that. I'm hoping to do something on his channel in the near future as well, so I'll update you guys when that comes out, but definitely check him out. We talked about pretty much the entirety of monsters over the past 2 installments. There's going to be some opinions that people are going to disagree with for sure. Today is going to be pretty smooth sailing. We're going to tackle synchros, links, and synchros, links, and fusions, and it should be a pretty straightforward but entertaining video for you guys. So if you do enjoy it, please hit the like button and subscribe to stay up to date with new episodes, usually every other day, as we work through the list, and we'll eventually get into the limited and stuff as well. And then maybe we'll even do a sort of wrap-up or honorable mentions video at the end where we talk about some stuff that maybe needs to be put on the list or where we're at there. But that's down the road. So let's jump into it. Ryan, I'll let you start this one as always. Elder Entity Nordin.
Yeah, so you talked about how this one will probably take a lot less time. I feel like extra deck monsters are really cut and dry about why they're really good. Elder Entity Nordin was really good for like a couple reasons. The biggest one is that it's just an instant fusion target that can turn itself into a Link or an Xyz monster. This card was banned before Links, correct?
Yes, it was.
This was banned because of Zoo. So this was a card that was broken before Links came out, and it's a card that could facilitate Links, and that should tell you enough about the card. It can be summoned by instant fusion.
I'm just popping
which is insane. But also back in the format where it existed, you could literally fusion summon it for real. Which
That's
was
true too.
Crazy.
Which wasn't there was one format where you had 3 instant fusion and 3 Nordin for a little bit of time.
You had 3 instant fusion, 3 Nordin, and then if you played Zoo, you played the Lunalight Black Sheep that could search the false polymerization. So you would make this card and then put it back into the extra deck and then draw a card.
Yep. And
so
you had access to this. Now, for people that didn't play back,
Toad.
You go Toad with 1 card. So it was just quite literally, like, especially in Mermaid, when that deck was a top deck, you could revive a Dragoons with Nordin and then overlay for Shark and detach, summon a Toad, search off the Dragoons, and you did all of that with literally 1 card.
Yeah. Nordin is just like an unhealthy card. Especially, it doesn't look as generic as it is. 2 XZs or Synchro monsters is extremely easy to get. This card just needs to stay banned. Pulling a level 4 from the grave, or lower. Oh, its effects are negated. Well, earlier in these videos, something like Steam the Cloak or Dandelion, which don't care that their effects is negated. So you shouldn't. This card is just a little too good.
Yeah, agreed. I miss it. It was fun, for sure, back in the day. But yeah, no, it needs to stay where it is. This one, I'm pretty sure, is mostly FTK based, or there were some OTK combos with this. I do think that they might have hit one of the other problem cards with it a while back that made this so applicable. I don't remember specifically because I didn't play during Maximum Crisis format, but somebody told me that there was a combo with this. I don't know if it was Astrograph or something else, and that this card maybe was a residual hit.
Well,
so
this card is also just problematic because it changes its original name, or it changes its name to another monster's name and gets its effects and stuff. That's just problematic going forward no matter what. Because if ever they print another card that can FTK, this card also can be part of that FTK.
Yeah, that's
it just
true.
needs to stay away. It can copy any monster's effect.
That's true. It's like a a Phantom of Chaos, rather, but, like, so much more accessible, and in general, like, it has piercing. So, like, it can, if it attacks a giant soldier of stone, it can do the difference. Yeah, no, this one's got to stay. FTK cards deserve to stay. All right, the first one I think we might disagree on. This card should not be banned. Let me tell you why. Colossus, much like Max C, offers a system of checks and balances. I don't think it should be at 3 or anything like that, but this card being at 1 I think is good for the game overall. Yes, it's easy to make. Thunder Dragons have been neutered tremendously, though, between Brilliant Fusion getting hit, between Gold Sark getting hit. I think the deck as a whole is neutered too badly by Colossus hit to the point where it's mostly unplayable. And like, if you're somebody who went to your locals and top with it, I'm sorry if you're offended by that statement, but there's a reason that competitive high-level events aren't seeing Thunder Dragon decks in like their top cut 99% of the time.
So
good.
I played this deck
Yeah.
for a significant period of time. It was like 5 or 6 months where I played this deck. Colossus being at 0 makes it unplayable. And I don't think this card is powerful enough to warrant it being banned if it also neuters the deck. I also wouldn't be opposed to this coming to 1 if like you could hit a couple of the other main deck Thunder Dragon monsters to like 2. Like Thunder Dragon Roar, the one that pulls a monster from the deck when it's banished. Like you could hit that a little bit if you wanted. I also agree. Yu-Gi-Oh players are like super triggered when something stops them from playing for 45 minutes.
It does. I can't do my combo without you doing something about it. Like, play solitaire, dude. Like, the whole point is...
I hate this card because I can't play my deck. Well, you banned my card and now I can't play my deck.
Yeah, no.
I understand, like, Thunder King is a problem. The fact that this thing protects itself from, I believe it's just card effects.
Battle or card effects.
But it has to banish the monster. That's right. The other one is different.
Banish a thunder from grave, yeah.
That's like a really powerful effect. I'm not going to pretend like it's not, but the further into the game we get, the more likely you are to be able to remove something without targeting or destruction. There's a lot of cards that banish without targeting. You can like Book of Moon it and blow it up. There's a lot of things that you can do to out this card. It definitely can't be above 1, though. I will never in a million years say that this card should be above 1.
I agree, because at that point, you have it, it's a boss monster, the opponent does have to work to get rid of it, but once you get rid of it, you're probably going to win the game, most cases. Thunder Dragon without it is a fun little, like, it's a fun deck, but it's not, Titan on its own is not good enough to really kind of put that over the top.
A lot of the time for me was a play facilitator. It wasn't even staying on the board that long. Depending on the matchup, Titan was better, but this card was a mandatory in-between card that you needed to play.
And I just want to pull up a card quick that I know people are going to reference when it comes to this. Nemesis Corridor. This card is from, I think it was Rise of the Duelist or whatever set came out before that. Thunder monster, target a banished monster, special summon this card from your hand. If you do, shuffle that monster into the deck. So I get it, right? Like, this makes Thunder Dragon Colossus a lot more accessible. And it's definitely something to consider, but
this card is not this. Yeah, this card's existence is like a fair argument. Yeah. I'd like to see Colossus at 1.
Yeah.
Mostly because I don't think that that deck with 1 Colossus would destroy the format, but I think it would just add a deck to the format.
Agreed. Yeah. And I like Corridor, too. It's a cool card. It's solid. Don't get me wrong.
That's a really neat loop. I didn't actually know this card existed.
Really? I knew this was going to be the first thing people say, and it's the first thing I hear when people talk about it. And I get it, like, because in essence, he himself makes it live. Like, you can tribute him. He's a Thunder. No, I'm sorry. I misspoke there. All right, because the actual verbiage, we record this live with no script, as you can tell. It must be fusion summoned or a special summon during the turn the Thunder monster effect is activated by attributing a Thunder effect non-fusion monster. So, yeah, Corridor himself...
No. He would be able to do that.
Right, but he can't tribute himself because he's not a... Oh, yeah, he can. I can't read.
The effect activates in hand. He summons himself. He puts it back into the extra deck.
Fair enough.
You could just tribute it to summon Colossus.
Yeah, that's my bad. I can't think
that is a pretty busted loop. Maybe I'm a little biased. That was like one of my favorite decks of all time to play.
Yeah. It's fun.
I'd like to see Colossus at 1. I think that like control decks like that are better than something like Altergeist, where they just like set 5, and if you don't have a Lightning Sword, and there's nothing you can do.
Altergeist.
At least you can try to interact with Colossus and get rid of it. But after seeing Nemesis Corridor, I completely understand the argument as to why you should keep this ban. But I want it at 1. I don't think it would obliterate the game like some people think.
So, real quick side note, guys. I'm gonna flip into Ion Market mode real quick here. If you guys happen to ever think there is a chance Colossus comes back, pick up your Nemesis Corridors just in case. They're like 20 cents, and it would easily be a $5 card, I think, if that card were to come back. So just a little bit of market hype there for you guys. If you don't have this, check your bulk or pick them up while they're super cheap on the off chance we did spontaneously get a Colossus back, because I do think it would make a big difference. Alright, so we'd both be okay with him coming to 1 with the caveat that it may not be permanent. Do we have to talk about this one?
No.
Dragon Link is dominating the format right now. It's basically untouched. It's dominating almost as much as it was before Agripane got banned. If you give it Agripane back, all you're doing is giving it an extra tool to play with. And arguably, the fact that he can pull out an extra deck monster gives you access to some extra deck monsters you may not be able to summon otherwise.
As we said earlier, a lot of the reasons why these things are cut and dry is because extra deck monsters are really good. And the fact that this one can summon them for free is even better. And a lot of really broken extra deck monsters are dragons. So, like, I don't like this card. Anything that cheats things out of the extra deck, in general, I think is just like a no-go in terms of card design.
Like, and I just want to point out a card that can be abused with this. For those of you that maybe weren't familiar with, okay, well, this isn't going to fit on my screen as well as I would have liked, but Shooting Star Dragon TGEX was from Ghost from the Past. Basically has no pre-requirements in terms of being able to come out. Just when a monster effect's activated, the target's a monster you control, you can banish a tuner from your graveyard and negate the activation. If you do, destroy it. And then it also has 2 other effects. Just a decent option that is just one of many examples you could pull up that do not have any summoning restrictions and the type of thing you could bring out with him.
Yeah. There are a lot of really strong dragon synchro monsters, especially because the 5Ds era was just centered around them, and they keep retraining them, doing stuff with them. And they just have like really strong effects where like the cards themselves aren't broken because you usually have to make them, but with Agripane you don't. Gotcha. So I don't want Agripane.
Okay, gonna skip the next one. We're gonna come back to it at the end. Nightmare Goblin. No. I was a little bit okay with this, and then we talked about it before this video, and you kind of convinced me otherwise. It is super powerful, giving you an extra normal summon. Not to mention, like, it does feel like it just promotes extra links returning more than...
I'll just say what I said to you. Imagine if you played the Brilliant Fusion engine, except you didn't play any bricks in your deck, and summoned Seraphonite, you also drew a card. And got to discard a card from your hand.
That's a fair point. I mean, he does have to be co-linked. It also has
broken link arrows too. Like left and right is an absurdly good link arrows to have. So, yeah, no.
Okay,
absolutely not.
Nightmare Mermaid, I'm actually a little bit less against, but I don't like link ones in general for the most part, unless they're like Almirage and they're kind of balanced because they don't do a ton. This card can grab Orcus Nightmare from the deck, which just is still super problematic. But Harp Horror's banned,
this card does a lot of problematic stuff.
Yeah, it's not the most egregious.
It can also pull, what was the first Nightmare main deck monster that came out?
Ibly. Nightmare Corruptor Ibly.
Yeah, it can pull Ibly from the deck, which then can be used as a link material that also vanities your opponent.
And I'll pop that up on the screen in case anyone's unfamiliar. This is a solid card. It's not played nearly as much as it was when it first came out in Flames of Destruction, but it's still a decent card, and you can lock your opponent into Link, so it's definitely not a bad option to have. So, I don't know. I mean, am I gonna, like, call Shock and Terror if the card comes back to 1? No, probably not. But, I'd have to be convinced to move it. I'm pretty much at the point where I'm open to moving cards, but nothing tells me that this card should come back or could come back. So someone would have to create a compelling argument. Otherwise, I say leave it where it is.
It also just has like that last effect that it has at the end, losing 1,000 attack and defense unless they're co-linked, is absurd.
Yeah, that is pretty good, because if your Yada Garasu with Axe of Despair were to be reduced to 200... Yeah. No, I'm just fucking with... Yeah, no, I agree. Let's leave it where it is. Next up, Link... This is... my favorite. Card information not found. Okay. That I took this directly from Konami, so you can blame them for that. Link Cross, I don't think we have.
This is a free no.
Yeah, Link Cross next.
We've discussed token problems.
So, all right, yeah, we got that. Summon Sorceress. All right, to 3.
I mean, no, because you don't play more than one of this. Because you don't need more than one of this.
Right. Sorry. So to 1. To 1.
No. This just facilitates so much bad stuff. So, like, because people are going to see, like, some hypocrisy in things that I say. I want to make it super clear that I'm really okay with generic, non-searching, non-pulling from the deck consistency. But I'm really against stuff that just pull whatever the fuck you want out of the deck for no cost. Because, like, earlier in the other video, I said that I think Maxi is okay. For a bunch of reasons, because I don't hate that it just gives you generic draw consistency. I really don't have a super huge problem with a card like this, where you literally just, it exists, and then it just summons exactly what you need from the deck generically, is way too good.
Yeah, I think it does a lot of things.
It also doesn't hurt that it has good link arrows and, like, an okay attack stat.
Also, I think one of the things people don't ever talk about with this card, which I don't personally understand, that first effect can technically fuck your opponent in a lot of ways. And I was actually trying to find an example as you were talking of a specific card I was thinking of, and I can't remember its name, so I'll have to look at it another time.
You can give your opponent Ibli.
So I was looking at Aurora Paragon, right? This isn't the card I'm thinking of. There's a card similar to this, but it restricts you. But neither play against special summon monsters. When another monster's normal summon to either player's side of the field, destroy this card. So obviously, like, that... There's a card that locks you into only being able to special summon specific things based on a type, not based on link. So you give your...
barrier statues are pretty good.
Light, right?
Yeah.
Barrier statues. But ultimately, the barrier statue can do the same for you. The card I'm thinking of, and I'll have to find it later, locks you into a specific restriction. It's like, you cannot special summon except blank. And it doesn't impact your opponent. But if you give it to your opponent and you lock them out in some capacity, that's a type of combo that, like, has never really come up a ton, but is just another reason I feel like it should stay banned, because that could be a floodgate lock in the future. If I wish I could remember the name of the card. It's from a more recent set, and I'm fairly certain it's like, while you control this face-up card, you cannot special summon except Cyberse monsters or something. And if your opponent's not playing,
okay.
like, then like, you drop that on their field with Summon Sorceress, and you just fucking pass if they can't do anything with it. You know what I'm saying? So, like, I'm out on it for many reasons, but I just wanted to provide an alternate angle on it, because I do think people kind of overlook that sometimes.
Yeah, and so later you're going to hear my opinions on Vanities, and I'm very pro Vanities.
Me too.
Earlier I mentioned how Ibli is, like, a problematic card. The reason I find Ibli to be more problematic is that it forces you to waste your battle phase, essentially. Cards that force you to waste entire phases of your turn to out them are inherently way more unhealthy than cards that don't require you to do that, right?
Right.
So, like, Summon Sork and Mermaid, Nightmare Mermaid can summon Ibli to your opponent's field, which forces them to just turn it to attack mode, take a bunch of life point damage, and lose 2 phases of their turn.
Agreed. Which is also
things that do that are just super... I'm not.
Broken.
I'm not.
Agreed. Alright, so Summon Sork stays banned. Gumblar I'm not talking about. This card is disgusting. It's not the most broken card ever printed or anything, but it's one of the most unfun formats I've ever played. Goki was awful with this card's existence, and it almost made me quit. I mean, I've quit Yu-Gi-Oh! Like 74 times, but I took my longest break from the game when this card was prevalent and did not come back for almost a year because of how truly unfun it was to play.
You said that this wasn't one of the most broken cards they've ever printed, and I don't think that's true.
Oh, I mean, like, it's not painful choice. It's not,
Your opponent loses their whole hand and 6,000 life points. Sorry, 3,000.
3,000, yeah. So, what I mean is, it's not the most egregious card. I could probably pick 10 cards on the ban list that are worse than this in terms of overall. But this card should have never been printed. Like, I don't know how this got through R&D, because, like, it's just disgusting in terms of what it does.
One of our friends was talking about, he's like, this card was an anime first card, and he was like, there's no way they print that. And then they printed it almost verbatim from what it was in the show. It's
stupid.
And
no, this card should never see the light of day again. Anyone that didn't play...
Goki,
look up
Goki combo, and you'll understand why this is
Yeah,
absurd.
it's just not fun. If you just started playing Yu-Gi-Oh! Or you started playing after Goki format, I honestly, truly believe, and I exaggerate a ton, anyone that knows me, I do think that was the least fun format I've ever played, and I've played through fucking Pepe, Dragon Ruler, like Paleo being kind of relevant, Spellbook, like stuff that just was really unfun to play against.
That was
Goki was the worst. Just not fun. All right, so Zero. Union Carrier, this is just does too many things, man. It's got too many locks. It's got too many... I love the card, and I wish conceptually that, like, it could only target a Union monster to equip to, because it's really cool support for, like, ABC and stuff. But they made it super generic.
Yeah, exactly. This has the same problem that I had with some where it just, like, pulls anything you want out of the deck for free.
Yep. If you could target one face-up Union monster you control and equip a monster from your deck to it as material with the same attribute or type, I think it would be 100% okay to have this card at 1 or 3, because you're not going to play more than 1 probably.
Yeah,
and
it would be bad.
It'd be a lot more balanced. Like, it would still be able to pull anything. You could still, I mean, maybe you could still do the Buster Sword combo, but you'd have to play a Dark Union monster, and I don't even know any off the top of my head, like, heavy mech support platform. I mean, you're burdening yourself at that point to play those cards. So, as is, though, just way too strong. We got a couple left. I'm going to eliminate one quick. Tempest Magician is banned because of FTKs. Just really dumb, really stupid. Should be banned because of what it does. And I just wanted to get that one out of the way. Okay, Ancient Fairy Dragon. I want this card back. I hate the fact that any of the Signer Dragons are banned. I feel like Yu-Gi-Oh! Has always had this element of, like, protagonists or, like, main series cards that were, like, big like that being, like, in the game in some capacity. But Ancient Fairy Dragon doesn't have a hard once per turn restriction on anything, and it's unfortunately become part of too many degenerate combos to be legal in its current incarnation.
Yeah, I mean, every one of its effects is broken. So, like...
And that first effect, by the way, was terrible back in the day. Back in 2012, summoning a level 4 from the hand was like, okay, who cares?
Yeah.
Like, it's fine.
But now you get, like, full combo of one level 4 or lower monster. And then... even, like, its field spell effect is insane, too, because they just keep printing good field spells.
Yep.
And because of the way it's worded, there doesn't have to be anything there.
Yep. It could just... Wait, it doesn't?
And we talked about how life points are a resource. This gives you 1,000 life points for blowing something up. Like, there's a lot of problems with this card.
I didn't know that ruling effect, though. Don't you? I thought you had to destroy at least one field spell.
Me on that.
Oh, okay. Maybe I'm wrong, and it doesn't have a direct link to the ruling, so I'm not going to go with...
I'm not sure if the text on these are updated.
Yeah, it's the Konami database, so I would hope it is, but...
You'd think, wouldn't you?
Ancient Fairy Dragon ruling effect. If it does not destroy a field spell, you do not resolve its other effects. So there does have to be a field spell active, which does sort of... make it a little bit less restrictive, but it's still really, really good. I would welcome an errata on this, and again, I know it's hypocritical, but it's just certain cards have such a historical significance to the game that I don't think they should be retrained, right? Like, it's weird, and it's a case-by-case basis, but, like, Ancient Fairy Dragon is Ancient Fairy Dragon, like...
Also, if they tried to retrain this card, they'd probably do it wrong.
You're right, they'd either make it unplayable or whatever. Only errata this card needs is you can only use each effect of Ancient Fairy Dragon once per turn. That's it. That's all we
mentioned. There's a lot of cards on the list that.
Yeah, and I hate to use that. I don't like to play that card every time we talk about something and be like, all right, that's why I'm very selective about it. But I just think this card's historically significant. Like, it's Ancient Fairy Dragon. Like, it's one of the 5Ds, Signer Dragons. Like, 5Ds, in my opinion, was the last great series of Yu-Gi-Oh! Like, the others, I know Zexal 2 is good and Arc V was good, but if we're talking, like, genuinely, like, what really might have pulled people in, like, what my... young adult, or not young adult, but like teenage years were watching. I very fondly enjoy 5Ds now after watching it, so maybe it's a little bit of bias, but I think this card should be in the game. I just don't think it can be with its current stats.
No, especially, we talked about Destrudo and Dragon Ravine earlier. Those two cards made it so this card would guarantee that its effect went off.
Yeah.
And that's partially why it's banned. But yeah.
Unfair, but it's I think it wouldn't shock me if at some point this did come back, though, for the record. I just want to put that out there. I just think they eventually, when there's 5D's nostalgia products, there's sets they want to sell or something, to see this come back would not be the most surprising thing. All right, we got 3 left. Denglong, I didn't play much when this card was a thing. I know it does a lot. It's a Synchro Tuner, so it's a needle fiber target. Searches the Yang Zings. You can mill a worm. If it
The
leaves...
problem with it was that you could make it for free and then search the counter trap. It was just problematic. Like, everything about this card is problematic. You just read it and you can understand.
Yeah.
Like, you add one Yang Zing card. Okay,
Mhm.
well, they have a counter trap that negates, I think it's all monster effects or whatever.
I don't remember what it's
monster
called, but
effect.
yeah. Yang Zing Creation or something, yeah.
You can modulate its level. It's a tuner, and that's all it needed to do, because you played it in dinosaurs, and it just gave dinosaurs a way to negate whatever they want. That's it. It's a super basic thing. Like, playing against dinosaurs is currently one of the worst things to have to deal with. I hate that deck so much. When this card was legal, it was even worse because they could just set a counter trap.
Yeah, and I will say for the record, while I do agree with leaving it banned, I actually believe this is a card that you might see come back. People have speculated about it for a while that Konami may try to take it off the list. It's not good with Needle Fiber, right? Because you can't activate its effect. So if you Needle Fiber it, you cannot, right? Because I believe Needle Fiber says you can't activate the effect of the monster you special summon with it. I'm not 100% sure on that. But, like, if you summon this off Hulk during your opponent's turn, searching the counter trap is a lot less prevalent.
You can, because people would summon Hulk to summon that tuner synchro that made your opponent discard a card.
Yep, so it's the tuner, I just looked it up. It's the tuner it summons that can't activate its effect, not the card itself.
Yeah, so you would just, like, summon this from the extra deck off Hulk and search a Yang Zing card. And there's a counter trap, which is really good. Not to mention, there's a bunch of random Yang Zing cards that are wicked good, like Yang Zing, whatever the teardrop looking thing is.
Yeah, Path. It's the Avarice, but it only needs 3 cards instead, and then there's 2 in.
There's Yang Zing. It's just this is like an unfortunate card that, like, if Yang Zing could have this card, that'd be awesome. But they can't because it's good in everything else.
Yeah, I do think it's possible we do see this come back. I think if I had to pick a card on the ban list if you were just like, this card is, pick a card that's banned that you think Konami might bring back in the near future. This card gets talked about constantly. It gets bought out constantly with people thinking it's going to come back. It would not shock me to see this come back to 1. Is that a good idea or bad idea? I mean, I don't know. It seems like it can do a hell of a lot. But this one, all I'm saying is don't be shocked if this card did come back, because I could easily see them doing it to...
My verdict is a hard no on this.
Yeah, and I didn't play with it, so maybe it's similar to what we said with Max C in the last video, which you can watch by checking the link in the description below, about the whole idea of, like, if you didn't play through that format, you don't know. But disregarding that for now, I guess I'm a no based on taking you at your word. But I'm also open to seeing what happens. It does seem on paper like it's kind of OP, but if they neutered dinos in some way, this card with Hulk is not anywhere near as good, because if you're searching the counter trap during your opponent's turn, it's not like you're going to go first and set up the same way you would with this, so.
They should just ban all the dinosaurs.
Maybe, yeah. I mean, a Meteor tried to do that, like, millions of years ago. Ib, the World Chalice, just SDR is just banned because it just does way too many fucking things. Until there's hits for some of the other World Legacy cards and some of the Guard Dragons and just what this does. I mean, you could literally summon this off of Hulk and then search a World Legacy card, and then when it's sent from the field to the graveyard, you just grab a World Chalice from the deck. It does a whole lot of things for very little effort.
They keep making way too many good generic World Legacy cards for this card to exist.
Agreed. I don't really have too much else on that
right
now. Alright, guys, last one of the video. Heavy Metal Foes Electromite. This card should not be banned anymore. I think this card got unfairly banned when it did, but I understand why, because Pendulum was so dominant. The Master Rule change does sort of hinder how effective it would be, but it's still good. I think it gives a big boost to Pendulum decks coming to 1, but it does not make them, like, unbeatable or uncompetable or anything else like that. And this is one of those cards that I think Phantom Knight's got Bardiche back. Pendulum deserves to get Electromite back. Ryan, you played Pendulum a lot more than I did, though. I did play it from time to time. Where do you at on this?
I don't have a problem with this card being at 0.
Okay.
For
Not
the
the answer
same
I
reason
expected, but
that I mentioned about a lot of cards, this card forces your opponent to respond to it. They just don't have a choice. Like, that card does so much when it comes onto the field.
Yeah.
That if you don't answer it immediately, you're screwed. And the other problem is that the relevant effects that it has, you can't ash it. You can ash its draw effect, but it's send to the extra deck and then it's add back. You can't ash that. So the outs to this card are a little more niche. Gamma is a card that I feel like always has relevance, so that one's sort of whatever.
Yeah.
But then you need something like Effect Veiler or Imperm or
Droplets.
I guess Ogre, but like Ogre doesn't stop you from sending one from deck to the extra deck. This card does a little bit too much.
I'm reading it now. That first effect is not a once per turn. So if you were to somehow link summon another one, or if you were to link summon it, like recycle it and link summon it again, it's definitely powerful, but I do want to...
This card can exist at one.
Right, yeah. No, I'm not arguing for anything more than one, but this is a card that I think...
I enjoy playing Pendulum decks, and I feel like this card is like a little bit necessary for Pendulum decks to function the way that the Master have been since Links came out. I don't know if I want to see it back, because Pendulum decks are probably the most annoying deck to ever play against, no matter what format. If they're ever good, they're the most frustrating deck to play against.
Yeah. Endymion was broken, like the Endymion negation decks.
Yeah. And like, so Pendulum is just like an inherently really broken mechanic, and then they gave them this card, which was just absurdly good generically, and it didn't have to be generic. Like, this could have been like a Metal Foes card, and I think it would have been fine, but it's not. It's just a generic Pendulum card.
Yeah, and we do get that new spell that is Electromite in spell form. When it's activated, you add a Pendulum monster from your extra deck face up, so...
Yeah, you know, except it's way worse, because you can't use it as a link material.
Right, but it's still helpful for Pendulums, I think.
Draw you a card, and I think Electromite does a little bit too much. I'm going to say no.
Got it. All right, I'm going to say yes. I'm going to say 1. Let us know in the comments what you guys think about this one. I saved it to the end because I think there's at least one in every section that's, like, definitely not a cut and dry case. Like, you can argue it, whereas, like, no one's going to argue, like, you know, Summon Sork. Well, we did. I devil's advocated Summon Sork, but no, I didn't actually think it should come back. Just give you guys a little bit of a teaser for the next episode. Wind-Up Carrier Zen Mighty, we will discuss in detail. I think that one's going to warrant a bit of time and context. Lava Ball Chain, another card I miss dearly, but I understand why it's banned, but maybe I'll pose a few theories on why it could come back, or I won't. You'll have to come back to look. And, of course, why I think number 16 Shockmaster could potentially return to the game. All of this and more, whether it sounds like bad opinions, good opinions, things you're curious about, will be in the next episode. Thank you guys so much for watching. Check out Ryan's channel again in the link with the description below, and I'll see you guys on the next video.
Peace.